On a wooden bridge, a figure emerged from the mist. The figure was a samurai. He was munching on a rice ball when a crisis approached. Several assassins hidden in the shadows were lying in wait. When the samurai reached the middle of the bridge, a harpoon suddenly thrust out from under the bridge. Fortunately, the samurai reacted quickly and was not hit. But was it truly by chance that he escaped? The assassins quickly revealed themselves to be 3 thieves who had planned to steal a noble's sword. Harboring resentment because the samurai had thwarted their plan, they came seeking revenge. Seeing the samurai's nonchalant demeanor, the assassins were further enraged. They charged at him, determined to make him pay. The samurai then tossed the rice ball into the air and, with lightning speed, drew his weapon. Before anyone could see his movements, the weapon was back in its sheath, and the rice ball had returned to the samurai's hand. Next, the 3 assassins fell one after another, one of their weapons sliced in half. Witnessing this incredible scene, the assassin asked the question on his mind. He had heard that the noble had only paid the samurai 20 taels of silver. Was that true? Upon receiving the samurai's confirmation, the assassin was even more incredulous. How could such a master be willing to work for 20 taels? With this question, he breathed his last. He never understood that not everyone in this world values money above all else. The next day, a place called Shimoda village was struck by a sudden plague. A large number of villagers died overnight, and the rest fled. The entire village was left a ghost town. At this time, Hanza, a chief of the Koga group, found the lord of the province to which Shimoda village belonged. He had learned from his subordinates that 8 suspicious individuals had been seen near Shimoda village the night before. He suspected that the plague might be related to these individuals. To investigate the truth, the lord sent the Koga group to investigate. After returning to the Koga group, Hanza immediately arranged the mission. At this moment, a woman appeared at the door. Her name was Kojiro, and she was also a member of the Koga group. Kojiro was dissatisfied with Hanza for excluding her from the mission. However, at Kogiro's insistence, he had no choice but to agree. The mission began swiftly, and the entire Koga group was dispatched. They arrived in the forest outside Shimoda village. Suddenly, someone discovered that a group member had died mysteriously. Just as he was about to raise the alarm, a steel wire wrapped tightly around his neck. Then, a huge electric current surged through his body. The sound attracted the attention of the others, but before they could react, a huge spinning blade flew from afar, cutting many of them in half. The blade's owner was a man petrified all over his body, impervious to any attack. Under his spinning blade, the Koga group was quickly decimated. To cover Kogiro's escape, Hanza stepped forward to block the Rockman's path. However, he was no match for his opponent. Both his arms were torn off. Seeing this, Kojiro fled desperately. But how could the Rockman let her get away so easily? His blade severed the branch Kojiro was standing on, and she was easily captured. In a nearby hut, the Rockman prepared to enjoy Kojiro. Just then, a straw-hatted man arrived, asking for directions. Enraged that this man had ruined his plans, the Rockman decided to make him pay. However, the straw-hatted man quickly identified the Rockman's weakness. He blinded one of his eyes with a flying needle. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the straw-hatted man and Kojiro quickly fled. With the crisis averted, the straw-hatted man introduced himself. His name was Jubai, and he was the samurai from the beginning of the story. Kojiro, however, was aloof. After giving Jubai directions, she left. Kojiro found the lord and reported the annihilation of the Koga group. The lord was quite surprised, but he did not plan to send troops immediately. Instead, he wanted Kojiro to investigate on her own first. Meanwhile, Juba followed the directions and was walking along the road. Suddenly, a pair of giant hands reached out from behind a stone wall. It was the Rockman. This was the first time he had suffered such a great loss, and he was determined to teach Jubai a lesson. Jubai did not fight back, feeling somewhat guilty for blinding the man's eye. He was willing to let him vent his anger. However, when he saw that the Rockman was serious, he had no choice but to retaliate. Jubai brandishing his sword, the Rockman couldn't help but laugh, confident in his hard body. But the next moment, he couldn't laugh anymore, as a wound appeared on his body. Jubai sensed the danger and unleashed his deadliest strike. In the end, Jubai prevailed, and the Rockman was sliced in half. This fierce battle was witnessed by an old monk. His target seemed to be the Rockman in his group, and he invited Jubai to join him. Jubai declined, saying who would want to fight those monsters again. After the two left, a woman came to the side of the dead Rockman. On the man's hand, she found a face, which was Jubai's. This was the evidence he had left behind at the cost of his life. Jubai was taking a bath at this time. He had indeed suffered some injuries in the battle with the Rockman. Just then, a woman covered in tattoos appeared. Jubai sensed that something was wrong and quickly grabbed his weapon. Suddenly, a strange change occurred. The woman's tattoos came to life, transforming into venomous snakes that attacked Jubai. Just as the snake's fangs were about to reach Jubai, a flying dart struck him. Jubai was reinvigorated and immediately woke up. It turned out that everything was the woman's illusion. Jubai quickly attacked with his sword, but the woman had already fled. The one who saved Jubai was the old monk from before. The old monk's name was Dokuan, and he was a secret agent sent by the shogunate. Dokuan explained the identities of the rockman and the tattooed woman to Jubai. They were assassins from the 8 devils of Kimon, serving the Dark Shogun. The Dark Shogun was a rebellious force that had always sought to overthrow the government. Dokuan once again invited Jubai to join him. Faced with his savior, Jubai once again refused. However, Dokuan then revealed that he had coated the dart with a deadly poison. Jubai was initially skeptical, but after spitting up blood, he had no choice but to accept Dokuan's offer. Dokuan then told him more secrets, including the reason why the 8 devils of Kimon had come to this place. It was said that a shipment of gold would be transported near Shimoda village, and the Dark Shogun planned to seize the gold to strengthen his forces in his fight against the shogunate. But how did the Dark Shogun know about the gold? This involved another person, Himuro Gemma, the leader of the 8 devils of Kimon. Upon hearing this name, Jubai was shocked because this man had already been killed by him. How could he appear again? Dokuan explained that Gemma possessed the ability to reincarnate, and ordinary methods could not kill him. The two then prepared to go to Shimoda village to investigate, but 2 carefully prepared traps were already closing in on them. Dokuan accidentally fell off a cliff. At this moment, Mujiro, one of the 8 devils, attacked Dokuan. Mujiro was skilled at hiding in shadows and attacking with chained claws. He also had the ability to control people. But who would have thought that Dokuan had already escaped? Seeing this, Mujiro had no choice but to retreat. After he left, a tree branch suddenly moved. It turned out that Dokuan had transformed into a tree branch to conceal himself. Meanwhile, Jubai arrived at the temple. Inside, an old nun was chanting sutras. When she saw Jubai approaching, the nun revealed her true form, which was countless venomous snakes. This person was the woman Jubai had encountered in the bathhouse earlier. Her name was Benisato, and she was also one of the 8 devils. Benisato was skilled in illusions and could control snakes. Jubai was surrounded by snakes and unable to move. At this moment, Kajiro appeared and took Benisato hostage. However, while Kajiro was focused on controlling Benisato, another snake emerged from Benisato's body and bit Kajiro. Everyone thought Kajiro would die from the poison, but to everyone's surprise, she seemed unaffected. Benisato had no choice but to order the snakes to retreat. At this moment, a powerful electric current suddenly killed Benisato. Upon closer inspection, a steel wire was wrapped around Benisato's neck. This was the work of the second-in-command of the 8 devils, Urameru, whose ability was to discharge electricity remotely through the steel wire. Jubai was very worried about the poison in Kagaro's body, but Kagaro explained that this type of poison had no effect on her. Dokuan then found the 2 of them. He also wanted to invite Kajiro to join them, but was once again rejected. Watching Kajiro leave, Dokuan couldn't help but marvel at her ability. It was then that he explained that Kagero's ability was to make anyone who had intimate contact with her become poisoned. The 3 of them went to Shimoda village to investigate. Just then, countless venomous bees flew toward them. These bees were highly poisonous, and anyone stung would die. Relying on her immunity to poison, Kajiro temporarily resisted the bees' attack. At this moment, Jubai discovered the person controlling the bees. His name was Mushiso, and he was a member of the 8 devils. His ability was to control venomous bees, but that was not all. He used his body as a hive to summon them at any time. Upon seeing this, Jubai had an idea. He knocked Mushiso into the river. As a result, the beasts that were living inside Mushiso's body were suffocated and poured out of him. Mushiso was torn to pieces, but the danger was not yet over. A figure suddenly appeared on the edge of a cliff. Kajiro took a closer look and realized that it was Hanza, who had supposedly died. She rushed over to check, but this was another trap set by the 8 devils. Hanza's body was filled with explosives. With a loud explosion, Jubai and Kajiro were blown away. Among the 8 devils, the one who could use explosives was a woman named Zakuro. She was ruthless and specialized in using corpses to carry explosives. After Zakuro left, Jubai and Kajiro reappeared. They had hidden under the cliff at the moment of the explosion. However, when they returned to the top of the cliff, a blind man with a treasured sword was already waiting for them. The man was named Utsushimaru, and he was a master swordsman among the 8 devils. Utsushimaru was evenly matched with Jubai, but in terms of swordsmanship, he was even more skilled. Just when Jubai was about to be defeated, Kojiro threw him his sword. This brief moment allowed Jubai to create an opportunity to counterattack. He thrust his sword straight, defeating Utsoshimaru. Due to 2 days of rushing about, Kojiro was finally exhausted and fainted. When she woke up, she found herself in a cave. Jubai had saved her. Although she was still stubborn, Kojiro had already regarded Jubai as a companion in her heart. On the other side, the Dark Shogun had led his forces to Shimoda village, preparing to seize the gold. At the same time, Dokuan and Jubai were observing them from the shadows. However, the hunter was also the prey. Mujiro had already set his sights on the three of them. Jubai discovered Mujiro's trace and went to pursue him. Kojiro, who now considered Jubai a companion, decided to do something for him. She demanded that Dokuan hand over the antidote, but Dokuan told her that the real antidote was right in front of her. Jubai chased after Mujiro, only to realize that it was a diversion. When he returned, he found that Kojiro had been captured. The Dark Shogun's plan was about to begin. Dokuan wanted Jubai to abandon Kojiro, but Jubai refused. Even though he knew it might be a trap, he still decided to rescue Kojiro. Kojiro, who was now being controlled by Mujiro, attacked Jubai. While defending himself, Jubai searched for Mujiro's hiding place. He swung his sword and struck down Mujiro. Kojiro finally regained her senses. Seeing that Jubai was risking his life for her, she made an important decision after much thought. Dokuan told Jubai that the only way to cure him of the poison was to use poison against poison, which meant having intimate relations with Kojiro. Faced with Kogaro's willingness to sacrifice herself, Jubai did not take advantage of her. He genuinely regarded Kojiro as a friend and would not do anything improper. The Dark Shogun's operation finally began. They moved the gold onto a ship, envisioning their future. However, Gemma shattered their dreams. It turned out that Gemma also coveted the gold. He knocked the Dark Shogun, taking his place. At the same time, Dokuan and Jubai attacked Sakuro. They poured oil on her and set her on fire. Instantly, a huge explosion resounded throughout the ship, and the fire spread rapidly. Just as Gemma was about to leave, Jubai found him. The final battle was about to begin. Gemma was originally no match for Jubai, but after reincarnating, his body became incredibly hard, impervious to Jubai's attacks. Jubai was soon covered in wounds, but he still did not give up. He headbutted Gemma repeatedly, finally knocking him unconscious. However, Gemma quickly regained consciousness and walked towards Jubai. At this moment, Jubai once again swung his sword. The sharp blade sliced Gemma in half. At the same time, the molten gold, melted by the high temperature, flowed over and engulfed Gemma. As the ship was swallowed by the seawater, the cold water instantly solidified the molten gold. In this way, even if Gemma could reincarnate, he would never be able to break free from the gold's seal. At the end of the story, Dokuan and Jubai bid farewell to each other and embarked on their separate journeys. This film was released in 1993. The director is Yoshiaki Kawajiri. This name is familiar to many anime fans. In addition to Ninja Scroll, he also directed the OVA version of Wicked City and the theatrical film Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. His works are known for their sharp style, detailed and gorgeous visuals, and grand and profound worldviews. They are beloved not only by Japanese audiences, but also by a large number of foreign viewers.